Ever wish you could just escape to another time?
Ooh, like where would you go?
Maybe 18th century Scotland,
Okay, I could do Scotland.
with a little French intrigue thrown in.
Sounds exciting. That's exactly the kind of adventure we're on in this deep dive into Dragonfly and Amber by Diana Gabaldon.
This is the second book in the Outlander series, right?
It is, and it picks up 20 years after Outlander. We're not just catching up with Claire and Jamie, though. We're also meeting their daughter Brianna for the first time.
It sounds like we've got a lot of ground to cover. What kind of sources do we have for this deep dive?
We're working with Claire's journals and letters. Oh, and the historical records that Roger Wakefield dug up.
Roger Wakefield.
He's a historian with a passion for the past.
Okay.
We've even got some quirky tourist pamphlets from Inverness.
Oh, those are always fun. They really help set the scene.
Speaking of setting the scene, let's start in 1968 Scotland, where we find Roger living at the Reverend's manse. It's filled with stacks of books and antiques.
A historian's dream.
Totally. And this is where Roger crosses paths with Claire and Brianna, who are visiting Scotland for the first time. Gabaldon captures Brianna's nervousness with this little detail. She bites her nails.
It's those little touches that make the characters feel real, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even in this extraordinary saga, we're dealing with real people. Real flawed human beings.
Like in that scene where Claire and Roger accidentally spill whiskey on themselves?
Oh, yeah. It's such a funny moment, a sort of icebreaker that hints at a deeper connection that will develop between them.
A connection through their shared fascination with the past.
Absolutely. And it's that shared fascination that takes them to 1940s Inverness.
Inverness?
Yeah. A town that at the time was just teeming with tourist shops, all catering to the Victorian era's obsession with the Highlands.
I can practically picture Claire surrounded by tacky souvenirs like, I don't know, a singing Loch Ness Monster tea towel.
You know, her wry observations about all of that are hilarious. She's a woman out of time navigating this world with a mix of amusement and exasperation.
I can imagine.
But the humor fades when we get to the Inverness kirkyard.
The kirkyard.
Yes. It's a place steeped in history and sorrow, and it's here that Claire makes a startling discovery. Jamie's grave.
Oh, wow. Imagine the shock, the grief, the utter disbelief.
It's a pivotal moment in the book. It forces Claire to confront the impossible truth of Jamie's death.
And in this moment of profound despair, she decides to reveal the truth about her time travel to Roger and Brianna.
Right. Think about the weight of this revelation. Not just the fact of time travel, but the emotional burden Claire has carried for 20 years.
She's reliving her love for Jamie, the impossible choices she made, the life she left behind.
Exactly. And all of that is symbolized by the wedding ring she wears. Jamie's simple silver band on one hand and Frank's gold one on the other.
It's a powerful visual representation of the two lives she's lived, the two loves that have shaped her destiny.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How do we reconcile the different loves, the different paths that intersect in our lives? How do we make peace with the choices we've made, the losses we've endured?
These are questions that Claire grapples with throughout Dragonfly and Amber. And to really understand her journey, we need to travel back in time with her to 18th century France.
To where she and Jamie find themselves entangled in the dangerous world of Jacobite politics.
But before we go there, why don't we take a quick moment to nourish our minds with Mindful Moments.
Mindful Moments offers AI-narrated insights on a wide range of topics, perfect for those on-the-go moments when you want to learn something new.
Now back to 18th century France. Claire and Jamie are right in the middle of political intrigue and courtly life. They even encounter King Louis V himself.
It sounds glamorous, but their involvement in the Jacobite movement is far from a glamorous affair.
The Jacobites.
They were a group of Scottish and English individuals who wanted to restore the Stuart dynasty to the British throne. This movement was a direct threat to the Hanoverian monarchy, and it had big implications for the political landscape of Europe.
So Claire and Jamie are right in the thick of it all. Secret plots, shifting alliances, and constant danger.
Right. They even run into the Comte Saint-Germain.
Who's that?
He's a shadowy figure shrouded in mystery, rumored to be involved in the occult.
Ooh, spooky.
His presence definitely adds an element of suspense, and it foreshadows some of the challenges that Claire is going to face.
It can't be easy being an outsider, a woman with 20th century knowledge, trying to fit into 18th century France.
Not at all. And that outsider status only gets worse when rumors about her begin to spread.
What kind of rumors?
Rumors about La Dame Blanche, the White Lady.
The White Lady. What is that?
This mythical figure is often associated with witchcraft and supernatural powers. It becomes a symbol of Claire's otherness, her inability to completely fit into the expectations of 18th century France.
It sounds like she's constantly walking a tightrope, trying to balance her modern perspective with the customs and beliefs of the time.
Yeah, and the stakes are incredibly high. One wrong step could have devastating consequences for her and Jamie.
And those consequences become all too real when Jack Randall's brother Alexander shows up.
This completely unexpected meeting dredges up painful memories for Claire and sets off a chain of events that will have a huge impact on their lives. It's such a tense moment, their confrontation, past traumas, present anxieties, all coming to a head. It's like, even though Claire is trying to build a new life for herself in the 18th century, she just can't escape the ghosts of her past.
And it seems like those ghosts are multiplying too, because Claire's facing more scrutiny and suspicion than ever.
You're talking about those rumors, right?
Yeah.
About La Dame Blanche.
Exactly. They only get worse, and they start painting her as this dangerous figure, a witch who wields some kind of unknown powers.
Oh, that fear of the unknown, the other, it can be so powerful, especially in a society like 18th century France. It could have deadly consequences.
So Claire essentially becomes a scapegoat.
For all those anxieties and uncertainties of the time. Yeah, and that fear comes to a head in this really dramatic showdown.
A showdown?
Yeah, and it's actually orchestrated by King Louis XV himself. Claire gets accused of witchcraft and has to defend herself against the Comte Saint-Germain.
The Comte Saint-Germain. That guy always gave me bad vibes.
He's definitely a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure. But even in the midst of all this danger, Claire never loses her compassion.
Yeah, you really see that in her relationship with young Fergus.
Especially after he suffers that horrible assault. It's just heartbreaking, and it reminds you how vulnerable children were, especially back then.
And Claire, she becomes so protective of him.
She's fiercely determined to shield him from any further harm. But she knows that she can't always be there to protect everyone, and that's a heavy burden for her to carry.
So eventually they go back to Scotland.
Yeah, Claire and Jamie try to seek refuge at Lallybroch. It's Jamie's ancestral home.
Sounds peaceful.
You'd think so, but even there they find themselves facing new challenges.
Like what?
Well, there's the responsibility of running the estate, worrying about the tenants, the looming threat of the Jacobite uprising.
And what about Jamie's family? How do they fit into all of this?
Oh, don't forget about his grandfather, Lord Lovett. He's this cunning, manipulative patriarch who sees the whole Jacobite cause as an opportunity to benefit himself.
So he's playing both sides.
In a way, yeah. He's a great example of the complexity of Highland politics back then, where loyalty and ambition were constantly intertwined.
I bet those interactions between Jamie and his grandfather are tense.
Oh, definitely. It's this fascinating mix of humor and calculation, like each of them is trying to outmaneuver the other.
It sounds like a chess match.
Very much so. And that power struggle plays out on a larger scale as the Jacobite rebellion gains momentum. Things escalate pretty quickly, and then bam, the Battle of Prestonpans.
Battle.
Yeah, and it really puts Claire's medical skills to the test. She's tending to the wounded, the dying, in the aftermath of the battle. It's gruesome.
Gabaldon doesn't shy away from the realities of war in her books.
Not at all. She shows the brutality, the horrific injuries, the emotional toll on everyone.
It makes you realize how much conflict costs on a human level.
Right. And Claire, having seen war in both the 20th and 18th centuries, has this uniquely poignant perspective. It makes her question everything.
Like what?
The cyclical nature of violence, the human capacity for both cruelty and compassion. It's heady stuff. But even in the middle of all that chaos, she finds these little moments of beauty and connection.
Right.
There's this one scene where she and Jamie discover these ancient cave paintings.
Wow, I can imagine how moving that must be.
They are, like symbols of Scotland's deep history, you know?
Right.
A reminder that human stories, both joyful and tragic, have played out on this land for centuries.
It sounds like a moment of peace in the storm.
It is a reminder of the power of art and the human spirit, but of course it's short-lived. They get thrown right back into the political turmoil, and Jamie has this risky mission where he has to meet his grandfather.
At Beaufort Castle.
That's the one. And it's a tense meeting. Lord Lovett, even though he's old, is still a master manipulator, using his influence to exploit the Jacobite cause for his own benefit.
Oh no. Poor Jamie's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
You got it. Torn between his family and his commitment to the rebellion, he's forced to make tough decisions with potentially disastrous consequences.
And meanwhile, what's happening with Claire?
Well, she's still in danger. Those La Dame Blanche rumors haven't gone away, and she's basically targeted by anyone who fears her supposed powers.
It's crazy how easily people turn on each other when they get scared.
It's true, especially in times of uncertainty and upheaval, it's always the ones who are different who become the scapegoats. Claire, with her modern knowledge and healing abilities, is an easy target.
It's like they don't even try to understand her.
Exactly, and things only get worse after she encounters the ghost of Hugh Monroe.
A ghost. Hold on. At the Duke of Sandringham's house, right?
That's right. It's like this supernatural element gets added to the already paranoid atmosphere.
Gabaldon loves to blend history with the supernatural.
It's one of the things that makes her writing so compelling. It blurs the lines between reality and imagination, and it really forces Claire to question her own beliefs.
Yeah, to reconcile her scientific mind with the possibility of things beyond her understanding.
And then there's her conversations with Maze Ree.
Maisry, who's that?
She's a wise woman, steeped in the traditional beliefs and practices of the Highlands. She gives Claire a different perspective.
What kind of perspective?
She talks about second sight, the burden of knowledge, how everything is interconnected. She suggests that maybe there's more to the world than meets the eye.
Wow. So while Claire's dealing with all of this, the Jacobite rebellion is reaching a boiling point.
Yeah. Claire realizes that her being there, pregnant no less, puts her and her unborn child in terrible danger. She has to make a choice.
Oh no, what does she do?
She decides to go back to her own time, back to the 20th century. She leaves Jamie to face whatever fate the rebellion holds for him.
I can't imagine how hard that must have been for both of them.
It's a huge testament to their love that they're willing to make that kind of sacrifice for each other. Their goodbye is so heartbreaking. It reminds you that sometimes love means letting go, even when it tears you apart.
So Claire steps back through the stones and she takes with her the memories of their love.
The weight of their shared history, the hope that maybe someday they'll find their way back to each other. But that's not the end of Claire's journey. Her return to the 20th century is really just the beginning of a whole new chapter. And that's where we pick up, right? Claire is back in her own time, pregnant with Jamie's child, trying to rebuild her life with Frank. It must have been such a roller coaster of emotions.
Relief at being back in a world she understands, but also grief for the life she left behind.
Not to mention this constant ache of Jamie's absence.
And she can't tell Frank the truth. Can you imagine trying to navigate that?
I know, right? It's like this invisible barrier forms between them, all these unspoken words and unshared experiences.
How does Gabaldon show that tension in their relationship?
It's subtle, the silences, the hesitant touches, those unspoken questions that just hang in the air.
Frank knows something has changed.
He can sense it, but he can only guess at what Claire's been through and why she's so withdrawn.
It's amazing that he agrees to raise Brianna as his own.
It shows how deeply he loves Claire. It's this act of incredible love and sacrifice, but it's not without consequences.
Right, because their relationship is forever changed.
There's always going to be this unspoken truth between them, like a shadow.
And what about Brianna? It couldn't have been easy growing up, knowing Frank wasn't her biological father.
Imagine carrying that knowledge around with you as a child. It's bound to shape your sense of identity, of where you belong.
It's a credit to Gabaldon that she handles such a complex family dynamic so well.
She really explores all the emotional nuances of Brianna's journey as she comes to terms with who her parents are.
As she gets older, she gets more curious about her real father.
That's where Roger comes back into the picture, playing a key role in uncovering the mystery of Jamie Fraser.
All those historical records he was researching.
They turn out to be vital clues in piecing together Jamie's life after Claire left. It's like a historical treasure hunt. Each document reveals another little piece of the puzzle.
And some of those discoveries are shocking, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they challenge everything Claire thought she knew about what happened to Jamie.
It reminds you that history is never truly set in stone. There are always new perspectives to uncover.
And those revelations reawaken all sorts of emotions for Claire.
Like the hope that maybe Janie might still be alive.
Exactly, it opens up all these possibilities.
So Dragonfly and Amber ends on a note of closure and anticipation. Claire has found a way to make a life for herself in her own time.
But her heart is still back in the past with Jamie.
The idea of their reunion is always there, just out of reach.
Gabaldon really does a masterful job of blending historical fiction, romance, and time travel. She creates this world that just pulls you in and makes you think.
It definitely leaves you wanting more, to see what happens next, to find out what fate has in store for these characters.
Well, if you haven't already experienced Dragonfly and Amber for yourself, I highly recommend you pick up a copy.
You can find it at link provided to Podcast Writer. It's one of those books that stays with you long after you finish reading it.
And for more deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
And don't forget to check out Mindful Moments.
You can nourish your mind on the go with AI-narrated insights. It's the perfect way to learn and explore no matter where you are.
Until next time, keep diving deep.